Not every book is going to grow your business. It needs to be strategically aligned. Your target reader needs to be your target client. The focus of your business and where you'd like to go needs to be, of course, the focus for your book. So it's not just any book that's going to grow your business, it's the right book.
Hello there and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. It's Rick Nusky here. It is so wonderful to be back with you. It's great to be your host. I love doing this show. I get to speak with some incredibly talented people. Now on today's show, I have the pleasure of welcoming author, certified speaker and book coach, Cathy Fyock. Welcome to the show, Cathy.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's a pleasure having you here. Now, you and I are going to be talking about how writing a book can be a powerful strategy for growing your business, your brand, and your influence. But before we do that, we usually spend a bit of time learning a bit about you. So first things first, where are you calling in from?
I'm from Louisville, Kentucky,
Oh, beautiful.
in the States, and I was born and raised there, the home of the Kentucky Derby. And just in the past 3 years, I moved to Florida, to Punta Gorda, Florida, and love living in the Sunshine State.
So tell me, what do you like about the new location that you're in terms of landmarks and things to do?
Well, lots of palm trees and blue skies and warm weather, so it's all the perfect things for me.
So when you're not writing and you get out and about, what do you like doing?
Oh, I love to travel. I'll be going to New York City this coming week
Beautiful.
to speak for a group, but I love to travel. I love to have guests over. I'm having my high school best friends over this coming weekend. I love reading, so many, many interests.
Well, we're certainly going to be talking a lot more about reading and book creation and that sort of things. But you mentioned that you're catching up with some friends. Do you like going? Are you a bit of a foodie? Is that what you like doing with your friends when you catch up?
I love, yes, I'm a foodie and I love going to great restaurants and I love mocktails. I don't drink alcohol anymore, but mocktails are a real thing here. Finding non-alcoholic beer, craft beers, and
Yes.
uh, creating mocktails with more than just fruit juices, a
Yeah.
lot of interesting ingredients there.
Well, I tell you
So.
what, in terms of alcohol, there's some rewards for not drinking. How have you felt since moving away from alcohol? Because it's a poignant topic, isn't it?
It really is, and I've really enjoyed it. I was one to love my glass of wine
Oh, yes, me
or
too.
or a little bit of Kentucky bourbon,
Yeah.
but I've given all of those up now, and I do feel really, really great.
Yeah, well, you're looking wonderful too. And the other byproduct of all those things is moving away is that, your bank balance doesn't suffer as much as well, I've noticed.
You are exactly right. You are exactly right.
Now, do you love a movie? Is that your thing? What do you like to do? Do you like a movie? And if so, what type?
I love movies. I like old movies. I
Yes, yes.
like, I don't know, it just, let's see, what my most recent movie experience was Oppenheimer.
Oh, yes.
Very interesting, long, dark, but interesting. Um, Barbie, I also
Ah.
watched. Not as an intellectual or heavy a film, but kind of fun and visually very interesting. So, yeah, love lots of things.
Now, if we go back a bit, let's talk about life growing up. I always find this very interesting to learn about your background as a child. Do you have a fond memory of growing up? And if you do, could you share it with us?
Gosh, I don't know. My family used to go on a big vacation, and we always went in the car. And I had a brother and a sister, and we would be piled in the back seat, and we would head off to Florida, of all things. And so I guess I got my love of Florida,
From
developed
that.
that love of Florida, yeah, from those road trips and the three of us kids in the back seat and
Yes.
playing I Spy and all kinds of fun road games.
I love it. When we can sort of tap into those memories. It's. Now, I always think about those formative years as well in terms of the people that are around us. Do you recall who had an influence on you as you were growing up?
Yes, I can tell you that in third grade, that Diane Sawyer's mother was my third grade teacher. Now,
Oh,
I don't know if you know the name Diane
I do.
Sawyer,
I'm
but
familiar with
she's,
that.
yes, she's a very famous broadcaster here in the States. And she was quite a news personality, a journalist, and so forth. So yeah, she was just my idol when I was in third grade, and her mom was her teacher. So
Fantastic.
she's someone I've followed her career until she's just recently retired.
Okay. Yeah, I love this sort of, I guess, pre sort of core of the call conversation because it gives some great context about you as an individual as opposed to a book author and that sort of thing. But I can only imagine how busy your days are. Are you an early riser? And tell us a little bit about how a typical day unfolds for you.
No, I am not an early riser. And what's interesting about me, even though I'm an author and I'm a book coach, I don't like to write, which is sort of surprising for a lot of people,
Oh,
but
no.
I do not like to write. I think it's hard work.
Yep.
And, but yet I really believe in writing. I think it is one of the best ways to grow a business, to expand your thought leadership, to develop a credential,
Mm.
but I don't really like the process of writing. So maybe that will appeal to some people out there who were thinking, oh, I'll never be a writer because I don't
Oh,
like to write.
you know what?
You don't have to like to write.
You don't have to like it. And I tell you, I'm in my second and I'm hating it. I have got to say, because it does take a lot of focus. And I'd love to talk more about that in a moment. But just for the sake of context, Cathy, tell us a little bit about, I guess, your education and educational background and professional background.
Well, I have an undergraduate degree in music, quite
Mm.
unrelated. And then my graduate degree is in human resource management. So my first bit of work out of college was to be a human resources executive
Mm.
and worked for several years in that area. And then when I left the organization, I became an author, a thought leader, a trainer, a speaker in around human resources
Yep.
issues. And then just 10 years ago, I reinvented myself yet again and used my background as an author and as a coach in this new space of being a book coach.
Fantastic. Now, where do you get your best ideas from for the work that you're doing now? Where did this idea sort of, I guess, spawn from?
Well, it's an interesting story. I've been very active with the National Speakers Association, and I've been very active with my local chapter. And the local president called me up and said, Cathy, I heard a rumor that you wrote one of your books in less than 6 weeks. He said, is that right? And I said, yes, as a matter of fact, it is. I wrote at the time 4 of my 5 books in less than 6 weeks. And he said, oh my gosh. He said, that is amazing. Do you have a process? And I thought that was the most interesting question. I thought, do I have a process? Yeah, I guess I do. He said, would you be willing to think through your process and give a program about that process for our chapter members, because we have a lot of chapter members who are working on books. And I said, oh, that would be great. He said, but before you say yes, he said, we have 2 of our members who are actually working on their books right now. Would you be willing to coach them using your process and then give a report? And I said, oh, yeah, you had me at give a program. I think this would be fascinating because I know it works for me, but I don't know if it works for anyone else. So I started working with these 2 chapter members who were actually friends of mine. And very quickly they said to me, have you ever thought about becoming a book coach? And I said, no.
Never.
Is there such a thing? Is there a need?
Are you making
And they
stuff up?
assured me that there was, yes. So uh, shortly thereafter, I gave my program for the chapter. And once again, my friends came up to me after the program and said, have you ever thought about becoming a book coach?
Yes.
And so that was the launch. That was back in the spring of 2013. And by January of 2014, I launched my new business as a book coach.
So, with that, do you find that your speaking engagements sort of tie in with your book coach work? Do you still speak?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I really only anymore I speak about how to write.
Ah,
So I talk about how to write more quickly, effectively, how to get it organized, how to get it strategically aligned with your business, because not every book is going to grow your business. It needs to be strategically aligned with your target client. Your target reader needs to be your target client. The focus of your business and where you'd like to go needs to be, of course, the focus for your book. So it's not just any book that's going to grow your business, it's the right book. So I help people do just that, get it strategically aligned so that you're writing the book that will, in fact, grow your business.
there's so much that we could talk about. And, I think about curiosity headlines, I think about book covers, I think about all of those, I guess, strategic elements that lots of people say, I'm going to write a book, it's going to be fantastic. I'll just use AI to whack out a cover for me or even write the book nowadays. What's your thought on
No,
that?
please don't do that. I've been experimenting with AI for over a year now,
Mm,
and what I've found is it can write pretty good stuff, but it has no heart. It has no soul. It has no personality. It's devoid of personality.
yeah.
So if you want to write great uh, messages that your clients will want to come to you for to and use your services, you want to tell your stories. You want to tell your success stories and working with clients and folks who have had the problem that your clients have, and then you will draw business. But yeah, please don't use
Don't
AI
use
to write.
AI. No, that's
It's a
great for
tool.
it's a tool to get you there. It's not the ends, is it? Now you also have won some awards. You've got the Global Training Leadership Award and the NSA Referral Champ Awards. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I got to go to India to speak for a group based on the award that I got several years back. And
Hmm.
then for 2 years in a row, I got the Referral Champion of the Year from the National Speakers Association, because so many people come to me, they want to write a book because they want to be a speaker. They want to get out there and share their message, both in the written word and the spoken word. And so usually I ask them if they know about the National Speakers Association. And if they don't, and a lot of times they don't, I heartily encourage them to become members.
So, with regards to the personalities behind the people that write the books that you work with, what are some of the commonalities beyond the book that they have? Do they all own businesses? Do they have aspirations? What's the most common thing that you've seen?
I would say most likely they are a coach, a consultant, or a speaker,
Hmm.
trainer,
Yep.
and they are really they're at a certain point in their business, and they're really wanting to grow their business to the next level, and they know that a book will really do that for them. It will just codify their thought leadership. It will create additional branding. It's a reason to be on the media, whether it's social media or network media, and it's an opportunity to expand your thought leadership. So I get a lot of folks coming to me who want to write a book because they are wanting to grow their business. So they are in growth mode. They sometimes they are beginning their careers as speakers, but some are um, kind of getting to that next level.
Next level.
For
Yep.
example, one of my recent authors had given a TEDx talk, and she had done very well with that. But she felt like so many people came to her and said, "Okay, so where's your book?" And she didn't have the book.
Didn't
So
have
she felt
one.
like she was leaving revenue on the table. Plus, she was missing a huge opportunity to further amplify her message.
When did you write your first book?
I wrote my first book in 1989. It was published in 1990.
Hmm.
My first book was on the aging workforce,
Yep.
and it really did solidify my role as a thought leader in sort of diversity, workforce diversity, and in particular, the aging workforce.
Fantastic. Now, I don't know about you, but I struggle to know when the end of my book was written. Did you? How do you know when you finished a book?
Well, that's a good question. A lot of my authors don't want to quite give it up because it's a little scary to say it's done and put it
Yeah.
out there in the world. But if you start by outlining the book and starting with a strategic plan for the scope of the book, what it's going to cover, what it's not going to cover, then once you have written that content, you know that you are done. Another thing is that today's busy readers don't want a long, heavy read. They want something that's very accessible, something that we often call a one flight book,
Yep.
and that you can read it on a flight in the airplane. So you can read it in a couple of hours. So usually I say that's about 30,000 words. So that's when we know it's about done. And that's what I tell most of my authors. If you're working on a nonfiction book for busy professionals, you probably want to limit it to about 30,000 words.
Fantastic feedback. There's some sage advice for sure and certain. Now, I've noticed behind you have a bookshelf full of
Yes.
fantastic books. Now, beyond your books that are there, tell us what is your favorite, who is your favorite author and what book are you reading at
Oh
the
my
moment?
gosh. That's hard. That's sort of
That's a
like
loaded
saying,
question, isn't it?
what's your favorite child? Who's your favorite child? There, I mean, I have 230 published authors that I've worked with over the past 10 plus years. So it's hard to think about just
Yes, it's a
one
bit of a tough question.
author because they've covered topics as varied as wealth management to how do you talk to your kids about money,
Hmm.
to wellness and well-being, to diversity and inclusion, to human resource management, to
Hmm.
leadership.
Everything and anything.
Lots and lots of topics that are covered. There have been several of my authors that have talked about their faith and their faith journey as it relates to living a great life. So a lot of
A lot of
variety
different
in terms
stuff.
of the topics.
You know,
Yeah.
I think about movies that I've seen, and they have these grand old libraries with dusty old books, and it's kind of like a catalogue of human history. Do you think that it's important to as important today to be writing books as it's ever been, or do you feel that digital moves, I guess, where people are always online, are overtaking books? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, it's our consumers today, our customers today, readers, want to read their books in many different ways. Some
Hmm.
want to consume them electronically, some want the old fashioned hardback or
Yep.
paperback book,
Yep.
some want to hear it through an audiobook.
Hmm.
So it's really a matter of how the reader wants to read the book. But I think books are here to stay because books are here to solve problems. They're here to give solutions, to let readers know that they are not alone, to let folks know that there is probably a solution to their problem that they've been struggling with. And that's the beauty of so many books, is that we have different perspectives. You know, some authors talk to me about leadership and they say, oh, do we have room for another book on leadership? And I said, well, once we have all the leadership issues of our world solved, then I
Sorted.
guess you don't have to write any more books about leadership.
We're certainly so what you're saying is we've certainly got a lot of opportunity to share, I guess, collective wisdom over the
Yes.
ages, and you know that's a powerful thing. Now, in terms of powerful thing, tell us about your books. You've got lots of them. You've got the speaker, author, blog to book on your
Yes.
mark, my new book, and the Writer Crisis Hotline. That's your latest book, isn't it?
Yes, Writer Crisis Hotline is the latest book that I co-authored with Allie Pleiter, who is a full-time author, and she's also a book coach. And we teamed up together. We hear so many authors thinking they're the only ones who are having this problem, whether it be writer's block or the negative voices in the head, or that they can't get focused, or they can't honor their time for writing. So we decided we would create a book with all of the solutions for all of those typical problems. And what that does is it gives readers and those who are wanting to write an easy way to go to a solution for their specific problem. So if they are dealing with the time crunch, they can go to the chapter on how do you find time in your day.
Yep.
If you're dealing with the negative voice in your head, you could go to that chapter and read that specifically. And it's a wonderful coaching tool that Allie and I both use.
So, in terms of, I guess, the focus on non-fiction, how important is the story arc in a non-fiction book? Should you have an element of story?
Yes, you absolutely should. Well, let me just say this. You only want to include stories if you want to engage your readers.
Oh, well, there you
Because
go.
yeah, because we all learn by way of story, by way
Yes.
of parables, by way of hearing how other people have solved the problems. It's much better than being told, you need to do this, you need to do that, and next you do this. A much gentler way of teaching and instructing is to just tell a story, and that way we don't have to wag our finger and say you should do this and you should do that. You just tell a story in which the key character does it the right way and gets great
Gets great
results, or does it
results.
the wrong way and they fail. So they're very instructive and can contain truth that mere facts and data just cannot hold a candle to the stickiness of a story.
Yeah, fantastic feedback. Thank you very much, Cathy. Now, I know that we've started to touch on this, but I want to explore it more because this is really the core of the call. And how can having a book help promote your business, your brand, and improve or increase your influence in the marketplace?
Well, let me first say that it doesn't do magic all by itself.
No.
It's you have to know how to use this. It's a tool to use in your business. So you have to put it on all of your marketing assets. So you put it on your website, you put it on social media, you put it in your introduction, your bio, all of those things. As my authors are writing their books, I often tell them on your email signature, place author of the forthcoming book and the title of the book, and even a mock-up cover, because it positions you as the author. So thinking about first all of your marketing assets, and then thinking about how you can combine your book with your outreach. So for many of my authors, they also speak. So you should be selling books when you speak, or even better, pre selling books when you speak, so
Uh,
that when a meeting planner calls you and says, yes, we'd like for you to come, and our conference has 2,000 people participating, you say, well, would it make sense for everyone who attends to walk away with reinforcement of that learning in a book? And
yes.
I can provide you a deal on books for all of your attendees.
Yeah,
So you're
fantastic.
not just selling one book, you're selling 1,000 or 2,000 books, and you're not just selling a speaking engagement, but you're selling a package of ways that you can help that meeting planner solve their problem.
You've triggered a memory for me, Cathy. I remember going to a live event where they were talking all things marketing, and on the table was this high gloss book. It was a real deal book. It was, cover to cover. And it was yours as a complimentary gift. Now, I think of complimentary gifts. Obviously, I paid to be there, so it kind of wasn't free anyway. But that's not the point. Is there a time if you have a book to give it away, or should it always be for sale? Do you think?
No, I think gifting a book can be a very powerful strategy. One of my recent authors decided to gift the book to about 50 of her clients. She had been speaking before,
Yeah.
but she had rebranded herself with her new book and hadn't been able to reach out and connect with these folks recently. So she sent the book and she beautifully gift wrapped it. So it was not just something stuck in the
Yeah.
mail in a
Yep.
manila folder. It was beautifully gift wrapped. The wrapping even coordinated with the colors of her book cover and so forth. And she said, this is my new book. I wanted to gift it to you. I would love to speak again for your group and would love to talk with you about that. She got from, I think, the books that she sent out, like 5 full fee uh, paid speaking engagements and sold books with
Wow.
each and every engagement. So it's a beautiful strategy. I don't think sending them cold is the way to do it, but gifting them to folks who already know and love you is a brilliant strategy.
This is one of these, it's a Pandora's box full of questions when we start talking about the ways and wherefores and why and how you can use it to market your business and your ventures and whatever else you're involved with. Inside a book, for example, would you always have some sort of a call to action? Is that something that you promote? Like visit here or get your download, or how does that work?
Yes, I am a big believer in having a landing page or a resource page, something like that, because a lot of times you sell books, and if you're selling through Amazon or any online seller, you're not going to know who your reader is.
Mm.
And you would love for your reader to connect back with you. So having a landing page or a resource page saying, hey, come to this link, and you're going to give your name and email address, but in exchange for that you're going to get checklists and templates and all kinds of free resources that will be available to you. Now you have the name and contact information of your reader, who is obviously very interested in what you have to offer because they went to your landing
Yep.
page. So now you have a qualified lead to follow up with and put on your mailing list and continue to send high value content, talking about what it is that you do and how you might further serve them.
Again, great feedback. Thanks, Kathy. Now, tell me a little bit about your views on being a self published author or having a publisher. Is there a preference?
Well, it's interesting you asked that because it used to be in the past, we all wanted a traditional publisher because that was the way to get legitimacy as an author.
Yeah.
But times have changed, and we don't have that same stigma attached to self-publishing. In fact, there is something new in the middle between self-publishing and traditional publishing, and that is hybrid publishing.
Oh,
And I work with several hybrid publishers, one in particular who is excellent, who basically, for a fee, will do all of that work for you and allow you to have a beautifully professionally published book, but you're not having to learn how to develop a cover and put it up on the email marketing sites and so on. So you're having professionals do all of that, but it's a done for you process.
situation. Yeah. Wonderful. It's nice to know that those sorts of resources are out there. Now, in
Yeah.
terms of, I think about the way humans behave, and it's all based on curiosity when it comes to book titles. How do you go about helping authors create the appropriate book title?
Well, first of all, I tell them not to worry about it too soon because sometimes it just evolves or emerges organically. So we want to allow that.
Yeah.
But we do want to have a book title that does two things. And you basically, with the title, you have the main title and you have a subtitle. One of those parts needs to be definitive, and it needs to explain what the book is about. What are you buying? What is the problem that you're going to solve when you buy this book? The other part of the title is something that's compelling,
Yep.
sexy, interesting, like makes you go, "Oh, wow, what's that?"
Yep.
So you want to have both those elements, something that makes you go, "Hmm," and then something that says, "Oh, that this is what it's about and this book is for me." So compelling, definitive, both are the two important components of having a really solid title.
See, I look at your books behind you and I think to myself, what have you learnt about yourself as you've completed each of these books?
Well, I love that I love giving people confidence. I love helping them through the process of birthing a book.
Yeah,
Because in this process, what I've learned is that authors step into a higher version of themselves. Usually, they're thinking about serving the greater good, helping provide solutions for people who genuinely need their help. So it's wonderful work. I often say that my authors help change the world one word at a
at a
time. We're
time.
making a difference one word at a time. And I love the fact that that's the work that I am doing. And I love doing that work.
So are you underway writing another book, or are you having a break? What's the plans?
Yeah, I don't have another book underway just at this moment, but who knows? I never say never, and but I do love working with my authors, and I love signing on new clients and getting a chance to hear their stories, hear how they want to grow their business, and then helping them shape that into a book through my 6 month process.
I think about the saying that a man sits under the tree, or a man plants a seed for a tree he'll never sit under. And I think about books in this respect. It's a wonderful thing to know that you're creating legacies that somebody might pick up in many years down the track and read and learn something for you. That's just blows my mind when I think of books like that. Now, you've touched on this prior, Cathy, but do you have a preference in terms of audiobook, digital, or physical books personally?
Well, it's interesting. I think you need all three. Um, when I'm reading a nonfiction book, I like to have something I can hold in my hands and underline and dog
Yes.
ear and do all of those things. When I'm reading for pleasure, and I love to read for pleasure and take usually lots and lots of books with me on my trips, but I often go to Mexico or someplace where I can't always buy books. So I get them online. I have a Kindle and I read books that way for pleasure. And then occasionally I do have books that I like to listen to as well. So I think all three are
They have their
very
place.
important for today's
Now it's
readers. Yeah.
it's interesting with all the people that you've worked with. I guess you'd learn a little bit about their patterns because you would have forged relationships over time with them. Do you find that they prefer to write in the morning, during the day, or just whenever they can?
Well, there is no pattern. Just when I think I've got it all figured out, even my authors surprise me. Even I surprise myself because I am not a morning person, which I said earlier, but I like to write first thing in the morning. I am an extrovert, which means usually you would think I would like to go to a coffee shop or some place where there'll be people all around. But when I'm really going to seriously write, I need to go to my cave and lock myself in my office and just sit down to get it done. So it's really this is the tricky part about being a book coach is that it is not one size fits all.
No.
Everyone has a unique way of writing and finding their happy time and happy place to write. So it's figuring that out and helping my authors get to the right solution for them.
I find myself when I'm writing, I get spurts, if you like, of inspiration, and just I get into that zone. How much time do you think you should allow yourself a day, or is it just when it comes, but when it leaves, you just let it go? Because I struggle with that personally.
Well, it's interesting, if you're on deadline with a publisher, you can't just write when you want to.
Yep.
And for those authors that I'm working with are many times they're wanting to get a book done for the big keynote that they're doing in the fall, or
Yep. Yep.
there is a deadline attached. So it's important that you learn to write whether you have the inspiration to write or not. That's why it's important to do the pre-work, to do the strategic planning work of who is your targeted reader, how are you going to use the book, and to structurally outline the book so that when you sit down to write, you know what you're going to be writing next, and you know how it fits into the whole. So having that plan of action. Now, I think it's interesting that while I do say it's important to outline your book, you don't have to write it sequentially. In other words, you don't have to start with chapter one and then
Yep.
write chapter two. In fact, I suggest for most of my clients, you jump around. You write where you are inspired to write. So you do have let inspiration guide you in that regard, but not when it's time to write. You sit down and you say, okay. And it's important too to line up in advance what you're going to write next. So as you're wrapping up your writing for the day, identify what you're going to do next time you
Next
sit
time.
down to write. So you'll be sort of thinking about that and developing those ideas so that when you do sit down the next day, you will have thought about it, maybe even dreamt about it, and you're ready to write about it.
So, Cathy, given all the people that you've served and helped get over the line, as it were, creating their book, how does it make you feel when you see them succeed and have their book in their hand and showing it and giving it away and using it? How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel great. It feels. I heard another a developmental editor talk about her clients, and she said it's like they're my she said I'm their aunt, and this is like my nieces and nephews. It's not really my children because I think of my books as my children, but these are like my nieces and nephews. They're all dear, they're all precious. And what's been great too is that because I am working with people so closely over a 6-month period, my clients many times become my dear friends, and that's been a real unexpected uh,
Benefit.
benefit
What
of
a
being a book
payoff,
coach.
to forge not only working relationships, but true friendships out of the things that you're
Ye-
doing. That's really hitting the nail on the head
Yes.
for me. Thanks, Cathy. Now, where
Yeah.
can people who are interested find your books?
Oh, well, they can go to Amazon. I'm available internationally, but my books are all on Amazon. Also, any online booksellers will be selling my books. If they would like to get more information about me, they can go to my website, which is cathyfyock.com.
Yes, and you have some products on there. I've noticed. I've had a look. Tell us a little bit more about your range of offerings.
Yeah, so of course I have my big package, the 6-month one-on-one coaching package, but I also offer group coaching, and I have different levels depending upon how much of me, how much hand holding you want or need for your book. So I have a group coaching, a basic plan, sort of an intermediate plan, and then a more robust plan that includes 6 hours of coaching over the a 12-month period. Occasionally, too, I do writing retreats, 5-day writing challenges, 1-day writing virtual retreats, different activities. And then I usually also offer free master classes on different topics related to writing, publishing, or promoting your book. So if you join my mailing list, you will have access to all of those wonderful
Well,
benefits.
that's fantastic news for anybody who's watching today's show. Visit cathyfyock.com. I'll be making sure that the link back to Cathy and all of her wonderful books and all of her wonderful programs are available to you no matter where you see this call. You're going to get that link straight back to Cathy. And with that all being said, Cathy, what an incredible call. Thank you so very much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you so much.